in this video, we're going to explore, or rather look at, how to find the slope of a line, okay? So there are many instances that would occur, but before we kind of dive into those instances, let's try to understand what the slope of a line means, okay? So imagine you have a y-axis, so basically a vertical axis, and a horizontal axis. That's the x and that's the y, okay? Now, and imagine you had a line along the x, any line out here. So let's take, for example, a line going along this way. So that's a straight line, okay? So you need to have a straight line to find a slope. And this line, what we're saying is that when this line slants a certain way, see the way the line slants? So the slant of the line is the slope, okay? So the slope is denoted by a small letter m, okay? And there are many different ways to find the slope, okay? Typically, typically in algebra, in coordinate geometry, the slope of a line is defined as rise over run. And what that means is, if I take 2 points on this line, so let's say I have point 1 and point 2, what that means is that if I create a little triangle using those 2 points, a right angle triangle, okay, then it means that if I go up from this point, that's the rise, and if I continue this point, that's the run, okay? So it means that if I measure this distance, which is the rise, and I divide that by the run, which is this distance out here, that gives me the slope of the line, okay? So those are just formulas. We can dive deeper into this in a different session, but right now, since this is just a review, I just wanted to kind of give you a quick understanding of what this means. So now the quick and easy formula to figure out rise over run is equal to simply the difference of the y coordinates over the difference of the x, okay? And so what you can do is, if you take these, come back to these 2 points out here, if the first point has coordinates of, so let's go ahead and write those coordinates in. So let's call it x1 comma y1, and then the second point out here has coordinates x2 comma y2, okay? Then the change in y, okay, or delta y out here, is going to be y2 minus y1 over the change in x, which is going to be x2 minus x1. That's how it works, all right? X2 minus x1. All right, so we can use that formula to find the slope of a line. So let's see how we can kind of apply that formula to the first problem down here, okay? So take a look at this formula. It says, find the slope of the line passing through 2, 3, and -4 and 6. All right, so I'm going to do m, which is the slope, is equal to change in y over change in x. And the change in y, I can do 6 minus 3, because that's the y in the second term, and that's the y in the first term, in the first coordinate, 6 minus 3, over the change in x, that is -4 minus 2. -4 minus 2. And now I'm just going to simplify this. So when I simplify this, I get 3 over -6, which simplifies to -1/2. So the slope of this line, is -1/2, okay? And that's pretty much it. Let's do another one where you're trying to find the slope of a line passing through 0, 6, and then 1 and 6. So again, 2 points given to you. Let's try to find the slope out here. So m is equal to change in y over change in x. So that's going to be 6 minus 6. So that's going to be 6 minus 6 over 1 minus 0. So that's change in x. So that's going to be 0 over 1. And now we actually have a fraction with 0 as the numerator. So when we have a fraction with 0 as the numerator, then that simplifies to 0. So what we're saying is that the slope is 0. But what that means is that what you're looking at when a slope is 0, you're essentially what that means is that this line is horizontal. Only a horizontal line has a slope of 0. Okay? Now, since we're talking horizontal lines, so then, you might be thinking, well, what does a vertical line look like? So a vertical line will have a slope as undefined. Okay, and that basically would come about when you have some number, so let's call that number x over 0. So when the difference in the x's, when delta x ends up being 0, then your slope is undefined. Okay, all right, going to the next problem. Find the slope of the line y is equal to 2x plus 3. Now the equation of the line is given to you, and so you have to try to figure out the slope from the equation. So the points are not given to you. Excuse me. So to find the slope of the line y is equal to 2x plus 3, you need to understand a certain format for writing a straight line. It's called the slope-intercept format. Okay, slope-intercept form. And the slope-intercept form is written this way: y is equal to mx plus b. Okay, where the m is the slope and the b is the intercept. And the intercept simply, to be specific, it's the y-intercept. And that simply means is where does the line intersect or cut the y-axis. All right. Okay, so as you can see, there's a lot of similarity between the slope-intercept form and what's given to you out here. So you can simply do a comparison between these two forms. And on doing a comparison, you can see that the 2 out here is the m in the slope-intercept form. So therefore, we can say that m is equal to 2. Now, one thing to keep in mind is whenever you're doing a comparison, you cannot have any coefficient of y, which means if you had 2y is equal to 4x plus 3, let's do that. Let's write that out here. Let's say you had 2y is equal to 4x plus 3. Then you could not do a simple comparison of this with this, because out here you only have a single y. So you'd have to divide the whole equation by 2 to get y is equal to 2x plus 3, and then do that comparison to get the slope equal to 2. All right. Okay, let's take a look at another problem. Out here, the question says find the slope of the line parallel to 2x plus 3y plus 5. Okay, so first of all, this form, as you can see out here, is not the slope-intercept form because you don't have y by itself on the left-hand side. Okay, so let's first go ahead and convert this into the slope-intercept form. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to go ahead and just rearrange the terms. So I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides first. That's going to give me 3y is equal to negative 2x plus 5. And then I'm going to divide everything by 3. So I get y is equal to negative 2 over 3x plus 5 over 3. Okay. And as you can see, if I compare this, I'm going to go ahead and write the slope-intercept form out here for easy comparison. As you can see, now I can see my m very clearly. It's this. And now the question, though, is the question is not asking you to find the slope of this line. It's asking you to find the slope of the line parallel to this line. So now let's think about parallel lines. Okay, so let's say I had a line this way, and then I had a line parallel to it. What do you think? Let's call this line A and that line B. Do you think line A and B would have different slopes or the same slope? If you're thinking same, you're correct. Parallel lines have same slopes, okay? So what that means is that if you can determine the slope of this line, which is what we did right now, see? And that is the same as the slope of the line parallel to it. So therefore the answer is m is equal to negative 2 over 3. All right? Okay, so let's take a look at another type of problem, which is Find the slope of the line perpendicular to 4x plus 7y is equal to 19. All right, perpendicular. Okay, so first of all, let's go ahead and find the slope of this line out here. 4x plus 7y is equal to 19. To find that, I'm going to go ahead and isolate the y, just like we did before. So subtract 4x from both sides. So that gives me 7y is equal to negative 4x plus 19. Then I'm going to divide everything by 7 to isolate the y. So that gives me y is equal to negative 4 over 7x plus 19 over 7. All right. Now, as you can see, the slope directly reads from this. So m, which is the slope, is equal to negative 4 over 7. Okay, so now that is the slope of this line given to you, but you need to find the slope of the line perpendicular to it. So there's a formula for this. So if you have two lines, let's draw them out. Line 1 and line 2. Let's call that A and B. And they're perpendicular. What that means is that they are right angles. They're 90 degrees to each other. Okay, that's what perpendicular means. Okay, so let's say the slope of A. Let me just twist this a little bit so that you don't think it's going to be, so that we don't assume that it's going to be that these two lines are vertical and horizontal. Otherwise, that'll create confusion from our last discussion. Okay, so A and B are perpendicular. So let's say the slope of A is MA and the slope of B is MB. Well, it turns out if you multiply the two slopes together, you get a result of negative 1. That is a property of perpendicular lines. Perpendicular lines, the slopes, when multiplied together, give you a net answer of negative 1. So we can apply that formula to find the slope of the line perpendicular to this. So we already know what this line is. So let's call this line B, okay? So let's call this MB. Okay, so we're trying to find MA, which is the perpendicular line. So MA times MB, it is negative 4 over 7. Put that in parentheses, is equal to negative 1. So now to solve for MA, first we're going to divide both sides by negative 4 over 7, right? Okay, so that gives me MA is equal to negative 1 divided by negative 4 over 7, which is equal to negative 1 times, remember, when you have a division sign, you change that to a multiplication, then you flip the fraction out here, right? Times negative 7 over 4, okay? And if you want to keep all the signs straight, just put them in parentheses so that way you're clear as to what's happening. The negatives multiply with each other to give you a positive. So that's a positive. And then the 1 multiplied with the 7 over 4 gives you 7 over 4. So that simplifies to 7, over 4. And that is the answer. That is the slope of the line perpendicular to this line. Okay, I hope that review helped. I will see you in the next video. Have a good one. Bye.